If y'all peep a decaf, please force them to call in because they scared to call in. They don't got no cojones anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with what Jon Jones had to say challenging Mike Tyson. Jon Jones stated, Mike Tyson, I will box you in the ring if you promise to give me a real fight in the octagon afterwards. And because I respect you so much, I promise I won't break anything on you. King. Now, I don't even know how to feel about that because, of course, Mike Tyson came out stating, hey, fighters in the UFC don't make any money. Pretty much Dana White is pimping these fighters because it's almost like a monopoly. Unlike boxing where there's a whole lot of competition from a whole lot of bunch of networks, in the UFC it's pretty much monopoly. So Tyson, he was pointing out the fact that there's no money in the UFC. He loved the UFC. He's a big fan, but there's no money in the UFC. He said Jon Jones, in order for him to make a whole lot of money, he got to pretty much fight me. So obviously that's why Jon Jones is responding. When Jon Jones said, you know, if you want to fight me in a real fight, come to the octagon. I respect you. I won't hurt you. I understand all the talk because Tyson is an old man and all that, but don't get it twisted. You know, why you calling out a 53-year-old man to the octagon? Jon Jones, if Tyson chooses you to be the one, you better be glad and you better run to the ring to fight him because he's still 53 years old. And Jon Jones is arguably one of the GOATs in the UFC. He got some striking skills now. So he pretty much could do well against Tyson in the boxing ring because Tyson is 53 years old. He's not in his prime. So I'm going to touch on that in a little bit, but I just want to first of all emphasize on what Tyson had to say. So, of course, boxing versus UFC, they claim UFC does a whole bunch of numbers on ESPN Plus. They do way more numbers than boxing. That's a arguable statement, but people lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So if numbers do back that up, and I don't know the numbers 100%, if numbers do back that up, fighters in the UFC started complaining about the pay because they're not getting paid or they believe they pretty much getting cheated. You can't get no endorsement because of Reebok and Monster. The UFC pretty much controlling the whole industry when it comes to the UFC. Obviously, MMA does different networks, but UFC is the dominant force. So, for example, Conor McGregor, one of their biggest stars. Amanda Nunes, another big star in the UFC. Amanda Nunes is the biggest UFC star when it comes to the female division. Obviously, Ronda Rousey opened the door and Amanda Nunes knocked her out and took the throne. So she got paid $1 million her last fight. And that was a huge purse for a female in the UFC. Conor McGregor, on the other hand, he was selling 1 million pay-per-view before he got exposed by Khabib and got beat up by Floyd. I'm talking about before that, when he was actually kicking ass, when he was fighting the likes of Nate Diaz, Jose, and he was knocking them guys out and going to wars with guys like Nate Diaz. He was selling more than 1 million on pay-per-view each time he stepped in the ring, or nearly that amount. He was pretty much competitive with what Floyd Mayweather used to do or with what Floyd Mayweather did for over a decade in the sport of boxing. After he beat Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, every time he stepped in the ring, regardless if it was a name or a no name, Floyd Mayweather pretty much sold 1 million pay-per-view at least. So when Floyd Mayweather was fighting, he was getting paid at least $32 million guaranteed, plus the upside money when it comes to pay-per-view. So when he fought Canelo, he nearly made $100 million in that fight. Conor McGregor, on the other hand, he was doing tremendous numbers against a guy like Nate Diaz and multiple guys in the UFC. However, man, the man was getting paid $3 million. I believe when he fought Nate Diaz for the second time, it was one of the biggest UFC fights, and he got paid $3 million guaranteed plus the pay-per-view money because he was the main event, a title holder. Conor McGregor got up to like 10 million max. I know he didn't get more than 10 million. So you can see how he pretty much getting pimped out. Conor was that star in the UFC. He was the Mayweather of the UFC. The only problem is, compared to Mayweather, Conor only had 15 minutes of fame. So he got knocked out of his throne pretty quick. Floyd Mayweather, you know, he stayed on top for 20 years. So what I'm pretty much saying, though, the main point was Conor wasn't getting paid the money he was supposed to. However, when he got a taste of that money they making in boxing, when he fought Floyd Money Mayweather, he made $100 million in one night. Regardless if he got his ass kicked or not, I fight whoever for $100 million. So Conor felt like, man, that's the money I should be making. I'm the star. So when he went to the UFC and fought Khabib and got smashed, of course, you know, the fight right after that, he got paid pretty well. I think Forbes have him making 40 million or so, or 40 plus. That's tremendous for a fighter in the UFC. However, he the only one because he got a taste of that money in boxing, and he knew what he's working with. It ain't a coincidence that Conor McGregor is the only one that gets to promote a brand of his during press conferences or whatever during the UFC. Dana White pretty much let him slide. He told him, listen, man, we got a contract with Monster. We got a contract with Reebok. But because you are a big star, I'm going to let you do it, but you got to play it smart. So these fighters won't complain and want to do the same thing you did. But because you're the star, I'm going to let you slide with that. Trust me, Dana White is not about to drink his whiskey and allow Conor McGregor to have his whiskey there. It was all part of the plan. So what I'm pretty much saying, they let Conor McGregor slide to Khabib smashed him, and they still support him because, of course, he's still the money man, him and Khabib. But like I pretty much point out, if you compare Floyd Mayweather purse, you know, making at least 30 million guaranteed, at least 32, 33, Conor McGregor getting 3 million guaranteed. He ain't even making 10%. And that's the issue in the UFC. So that's what Mike Tyson was pretty much pointing out. He wasn't taking shots at any UFC fighter. He's just pointing out the fact that there's no money in the UFC. Dana White is pretty much pimping these fighters. So obviously Jon Jones is an intriguing matchup, if we are being honest, if it's an exhibition bout for 3 rounds, because it's still boxing. Mike's still Mike Tyson. The last thing that's going to go away is your power. But if it's more than 3 rounds, of course, Mike Tyson smoking all day, getting high every day. He ain't going to be able to go past 3 rounds. He's just not in condition, especially for 53 years old. Mike Tyson, his last fight, it wasn't even himself. Matter of fact, when he fought Lennox Lewis, he wasn't even himself. Mike Tyson left a long time ago because he was doing a lot of drugging and all the above, which he talked about on a recent live. So, you know, it's an intriguing matchup if it's an exhibition bout, and Mike Tyson will be the favorite. But the only thing that Mike Tyson have to be mindful, it can't be more than 3 rounds, because Jon Jones still a high level athlete that's very conditioned to go a bunch of rounds, you know, so I won't recommend it. So when he challenged Mike to the UFC, it's like, man, you extremely reaching. This is not a prime Mike. You know, this is an old Mike. With that being said, I got my AKHi on the line. Split Decision episode 31 is over with. I appreciate all my AKHis in the comment section. Subscribe below. Click on the notification bell if you want to get notified every time I post or go live on Split Decision. This is your broski AKHi. I got a show coming with my own broski, my own AKHi. It's called Boxing Hood. Boxing Brotherhood. AKHi stand for my brother. So with that being said, it's going to be with my own brother. So I'm going to give y'all more time slots to call in and get y'all view, as I like and I love to interact with all my AKHis. So it's going to be a show on Wednesday, which is Boxing Hood. And there's another show, Split Decision, on a Sunday. I'm going to actually have a set time for each. I'm going to try to be more consistent. I have, inshallah, my daughter. She's supposed to be, she's due for 7/7. That's the date. So I'm kind of pretty much working on the clock. I'm very limited due to multiple projects that I got going on. So I'm going to be more consistent in a week or two. and after my daughter, inshallah, is born. So with that being said, I appreciate all my AKHis. I always appreciate everybody that support me, that always click on the videos, that always like the videos, that always throw the super chats in there, that always call in, that always follow me on all social medias. And like I always tell y'all, anybody can get it on split decisions. Even my AKHis, but of course, we talk boxing, we don't debate boxing. You know what I'm saying? These decafs, though, they don't got the cojones to even call in. They don't want to hear the truth. So call in, quit eating that contaminated meat that doesn't allow your cojones to grow, and call in. Y'all know what time it is. It's split decision time. So quit ducking. If y'all want to know some shit about boxing, call in. Quit ducking.
Better not
quit
duck
eating
me,
that
son.
contaminated meat.
Better not duck me,
And
son.
like I always say, man, it's a pleasure talking to y'all. But for all my haters, please tell me why y'all always hating. But y'all never call in, though. Y'all always hating, but y'all never call in. Doesn't make any sense. Now does it? So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the last call.